I'm going to be more irritable. I'm going to be, well, that's not fair. That's not right. What do you mean? And I'm going to feel offended unnecessarily. But if I've got some healthy orientation to myself, an understanding of myself and my fellows and of this world, I'm going to be able to be prepared for everything that's going on around me. Now, it doesn't mean that I shouldn't have any expectations or standards. I have to have those, because that's how the world works, for right or for wrong. But I've got to be able to revise those and to be able to say, what, am I being fair? Am I being realistic with everything that's going on within me and between us and with the world around? They've got some little handy acronyms like unconditional self-acceptance, which is another way to understand ourselves, another starting point for how we live with ourselves and allow for the ways that we let ourselves down. And then there's something called unconditional other acceptance, which is my orientation to others. And what do I expect from Linda? And do I have a proper orientation to my fellows? And is it realistic and reasonable? And then unconditional life acceptance, or ULA. What's my orientation to the world? This model also invites us to say, and reflect upon, what are all of my beliefs, assumptions, my isms, my biases, how I was raised, all these tangible and intangibles that make up my ideology. Because, or another way to look at that is the filter of how I look at the world, and it's also how the world comes to me. Because I can do some work and figure out, well, why do I react like this? Why am I irritated in these situations? Or why does that trigger me? Or why do these type of people trigger me? I can figure that out and trace some things back, maybe connect some dots, and do some work, and get at, am I being realistic? Or what can I be aware of what might be behind my responses that may be that might be anger or irritation. There's another mode that I like called parts work, and I won't go into all of what that means, but by parts, I mean facets of our personality. And a part can be just about anything. It can be in an emotional state, like there's a part of me that's angry. There's a part of me that can be jealous. There's a part of me that can be compassionate. And there's another part of me that can be a selfish jerk. I mean, on and on and on and on. I've got all these parts. And I can do some work with anger. How did that part of me or that part in my personality arise? How is it helping me? How is it hindering me? And I can do some work there as well. You've often heard parts work. I don't want to have that sound like voodoo, because it's really colloquially a part of our mainstream thought. You might have heard phrases like, well, a part of me, would want to walk away from that, but another part of me would want to, kick his butt, or I'm going to put my game face on today, or I better put my game face on for this meeting. So even in our language, we're aware of that I can be in different modes, and I have different responses and different parts of my personality. Now, it doesn't mean that we're phony, it's just that I can recognize the anger within me, or the rage, or a part that gets easily jealous or possessive. So I guess my point is there are ways to think about anger, and there's some mental health modalities that can help us process our anger or understand it, and then maybe reduce it as well. Reduce certainly the unnecessary parts of it. All right, that's enough on that. I mentioned, and maybe we all are aware of how easy it is to be annoyed or frustrated with what's going on in the world today, and the functioning or the dysfunctioning of our government, or things going on in the White House or globally. It's a lot happening, and a lot that evokes anger and frustration, or perhaps a sense of disempowerment. It's triggering all kinds of things. And one of the things that I'm aware of is that it's really important to keep in mind, what kind of boundaries I might have, or, am I assessing the amount of negativity that comes into my world. I've had to really monitor how much news I take in and when I take it in, and eliminating some of the negative influences in my life. I want to be informed and active, but I also don't want to be overwhelmed or have a bunch of negative things so prominent in my thinking. So boundaries is a way to deal with how I manage the world's information and a lot of things that are frustrating. Another thing that can be assessed and we can reflect upon is what's within my sphere of influence. If I try to take everything on, or if I'm informed about everything and want to be active with everything, I'm going to be probably overwhelmed and frustrated and maybe enraged or angry. Now, anger is all okay and it's good, but excessive anger and excessive rage, probably not good. Good to be angry, good to not throw dishes in the kitchen. Usually not good, unless you pay for throwing dishes therapy, which there's more and more of those around. Go to someone's basement and start throwing cups and dishes. You can do that. So it's monitoring. What's within my circles? How can I be active, or where do I want to be active? What else do I need to let go? So boundaries and sphere of influence, those are some things that can help me process and deal with the world and all the bad behavior going on in the world. There's more than enough. So I think that's probably it. Again, I would say, to not put too much credence in any one or any method or any mode that says your anger is bad and it should be eliminated. That would be akin to stamping out part of your humanity and a part of what makes you you. Along with your happiness, your jealousy, your fear, your contentment, your satisfactions, and everything else that you feel, which is hundreds and hundreds of things. When you really drill down, it's an amazing array of stuff that we live with. So hopefully we take on this dance within our humanity of living with and through our anger, living within it responsibly, processing it safely with others, letting it be transformative and instructive for our lives and even within our relationships. Because it definitely has a useful purpose as well. So that's it. I think that's enough. Thanks for your attention, and in advance for any questions later on. All right.
Thank you.